Do you ever sit in a meeting and feel like someone is finally going to expose you as a fraud? That is imposter syndrome, and it is secretly killing your chances of a promotion. Here is how to beat it for good. Let me tell you about a morning I heard about from someone who runs a company of 200 people. She's sitting in her car in the parking garage. She's already there. She drove there. She has the job. And she's just sitting because she's convinced that the moment she walks through those doors, today is going to be the day everyone figures out she has no idea what she's doing. She's been in her industry for over 20 years. She built her team from scratch. People fly across the country to ask for her advice. And she's sitting in a parking garage at 8 a.m., hands on the steering wheel, trying to convince herself to go inside. She's the CEO. And if you've ever felt that way, that quiet, creeping feeling that you somehow slipped through a crack, that you got lucky, that you're one bad meeting away from being exposed, then this video is for you. Because here's what nobody tells you when you're scrolling through LinkedIn, watching everyone else look confident and put together. Almost all of them feel it too. The woman who just got promoted and cried in the bathroom after, because she was sure they'd made a mistake. The guy who's been in his industry for 15 years and still Googles things before every meeting so nobody finds out he doesn't know everything. The new manager who keeps saying, "Great question," just to buy herself a few extra seconds to think. The executive who rehearses answers to questions nobody has asked yet, lying awake at 11 p.m., running through worst-case scenarios for a meeting that probably won't even go that way. That's not weakness. That's just being a person who cares deeply about doing good work. And the cruel irony is that the people who feel it the most are often the ones who deserve to be there the most, because they're the ones paying attention, asking questions, and genuinely trying to get it right. So where does this actually come from? A lot of it starts early, with how we were raised to think about success. We're taught that if you're really good at something, it should feel natural, easy, effortless, the gifted kid who never had to try, the natural leader who just gets it. That's what competence is supposed to look like, right? So when it feels hard, when you struggle, when you don't know the answer, when you make a mistake, your brain quietly files that away as evidence. See? That proves it. You don't belong here, but that's a lie. Difficulty isn't evidence of incompetence. It's evidence that you're doing something that actually matters, something with real stakes, something worth doing. Here's a way to think about it. Imagine two surgeons. One walks into the operating room completely unbothered, totally certain, never second guesses a single decision. The other one reviews the case twice the night before, runs through the procedure in their head, asks a colleague if they do anything differently. Which one do you want operating on you? Self-doubt, when it doesn't paralyze you, is often just conscientiousness wearing the wrong label. Now, imposter syndrome doesn't look the same for everyone, and that's part of why it's so sneaky. There's the person who won't speak up in a meeting unless they know everything about a topic. They've read every article, prepared every counter-argument, and they still stay quiet. Because what if they missed something? What if someone asks a follow-up they can't answer? They're not uninformed. They're not unprepared. They're just stuck in a loop where enough never quite arrives. Then there's the one who does everything themselves, never asks for help, stays late to fix things quietly rather than admit they got stuck. Because asking for help feels like holding up a sign that says, "I told you, I shouldn't be here." And then there's the one who achieves something real and genuinely, sincerely believes it was luck. The promotion, timing, the successful pitch, the client was going to say yes anyway. The award? They must not have had many strong candidates this year. If any of those sound familiar, you're not broken. You're not uniquely flawed. You're just human, in a world that doesn't talk about this stuff honestly enough. So let's talk about what actually helps. The first thing is building what I call an evidence file, not a brag file, an evidence file. Because there's going to be a moment, probably at 2 a.m. the night before something important, when your feelings are going to feel exactly like facts. And in that moment, you need something real to push back with. So start saving things. Every time someone thanks you for your work, save it. Every time a project lands well, write it down. Every time you solve something you weren't sure you could, make a note. Screenshots of kind emails, performance reviews, a text from a colleague saying you really helped them out. It sounds small. It's not small. It's building a paper trail of reality to hold up against the stories your brain tells you when things get hard. The second thing is finding someone you can actually be honest with, not to vent, not to fish for reassurance, but because there is something genuinely powerful that happens the moment you say out loud, "I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing." And the person across from you says, "Oh my God, me too." That moment is not small either, because shame needs silence to survive. The second you bring it into a real conversation with someone you trust, it starts to lose its grip. You realize you've been carrying something that was never just yours to carry in the first place. A mentor, a trusted friend, a peer outside your immediate team, someone who can look at your situation from the outside and reflect back what they actually see. The third thing, and this one takes practice, is learning to separate difficulty from failure. Not knowing something yet is just Tuesday. It's the job. Every single person you admire in your field had a first day, had a moment they felt completely out of their depth, had a question they were afraid to ask. The people who seem the most confident aren't usually the ones who know everything. They're the ones who got comfortable saying, "I don't know. Let me find out." That sentence alone can change a room. It models something for everyone around you. It gives other people permission to do the same. I also want to speak directly to anyone navigating this, while also being the only one in the room who looks like you. The only one from your background, your community, your city, your school. Because imposter syndrome hits differently when the environment itself is quietly, sometimes not even intentionally, sending you signals that you don't quite fit the default mold. When there's no one further up who looks like you to point to and think, okay, there's proof it's possible. When you have to translate yourself to be understood. When your instincts are right, but you've been talked over enough times that you've started to doubt them. That is not a you problem. That is a room problem. And it matters to say that clearly, because too often the advice given to people in that position is just build more confidence, as if confidence exists in a vacuum, separate from the environment you're asked to have it in. If that's your experience, the goal isn't to pretend the room doesn't have a problem. It's to find the people, inside or outside that room, who actually see you clearly, and to let their vision anchor you while you do the work of changing what needs to change. Here's the thing about imposter syndrome that I find almost comforting when I really sit with it. The people who never doubt themselves, who walk into every room completely certain, never question their decisions, never wonder if they could have done something better. They're often the ones you should worry about. A little self-awareness, a little humility, a little, am I getting this right? That's not a sign of weakness. That's what actually makes someone good at what they do over the long run. The doubt means you're paying attention. It means you care. And caring, really caring, is not something you can fake or manufacture. It's one of the most valuable things you bring to any room you walk into. So no, the goal isn't to silence the doubt completely, because honestly, you probably can't, and that's okay. The goal is to stop letting it make decisions for you, to hear it, acknowledge it, and then move anyway. To look it in the eye and say, I see you, I know why you're here, and I'm going in anyway. You earned your seat at the table. The voice telling you otherwise is not giving you accurate information. It's just noise. And you are in very, very good company.